Hey guys! So in this video I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about sorority recruitment, which I just went through 2 weeks ago, and it was a good and a bad experience at the same time. I did not have the best experience with my sorority recruitment, but I still really am glad that I did it. And so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why I didn't have the best time and what I think I did wrong and how I would do it better, so I can give you guys a few tips. But before I start into that, I just want to put a little disclaimer that if you do not like sororities, if you think it's a bad thing, whatever, please do not leave like a million bad comments because I know everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and if you believe that, then that's okay, but I would prefer not to have a million bad comments, and I would prefer if you would just stop watching the video if you're not interested, because I guess it's just a waste of your time. So, if you do not know what a sorority is, it is a group of girls who get together and they form a sisterhood, a big bond, and they do events together. So they do like formals and just like sisterhood, which are little things like going to the movies or going out for ice cream or going ice skating, like really random things just together. They also do philanthropy events and they raise money for charities, and they just do a lot of really cool stuff. You wear your letters, and your letters would be the name of your sorority, and it's just really fun. It's basically you do it because it's a lot of fun and you make really, really good friends. A lot of people say you're paying for friends because you do have to pay to be in a sorority, but that is not true. You're paying for the events, you're paying for the clothing, you're paying for the charities, you're paying for the house that you live in. So there's a lot more to a sorority than just paying for friends, which a lot of people do not get. Anyway, so sorority recruitment is crazy. I had no idea what it's going to be like. At my school we call it Rush. They might not call it Rush at your school. I know a lot of schools call it Rush. At my school we called it Rush. So Rush was really crazy for me. I had no idea what I was doing. I signed up for it 2 days before it started. I wasn't going to do it. I didn't even think about doing it. And then all my friends were like, come on, do it. We're doing it. So I was like, fine, I'll do it. I had to pay $65 to do it, which was not a very happy situation for me. But I was like, whatever, I'll do it. And I'm really glad that I did, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't look up any videos on it, I didn't read anything about it, I didn't have anyone in my family who had ever done it, so it was just kind of like shooting in the dark. And I wish I hadn't done that. If I could go back, I probably would have looked up some videos and asked girls about it a little bit more, but I didn't, so, you know, can't go back. And so for the first day, when I signed up for recruitment, we had to go. It was a Friday night. We went into the ballroom of the school, and they had half of the girls who were rushing in this ballroom, and then the other half was going to come later. And I walked into the room, and I had no idea how many girls were going to be there. It was insane. There were 600 girls in the room with me, and that was only half of the girls who were rushing. There were 1,200 girls rushing that year, which was the largest amount ever in CU history, and so that was crazy. I could not believe how many girls were there, and they were so pretty and so skinny, and so that was also really intimidating, but that was fine. And so I sat down, and they girls came on stage, the girls who were running Rush, and they talked to us about what we needed to wear and what it was going to be like, how our schedules were going to work, how we couldn't miss any parties, what a party would be like. They told us what it meant to accept a bid. They told us a lot of really good information, so if you're planning on skipping that day, don't. It's really bad. Also, you got connected with your Rho Gamma group, which was the group that you went to all the houses with. In your school, they might not be called Rho Gamma groups. I know that that's not like super common that they're called Rho Gamma groups. Some of them just called them groups, I guess. I don't know what else they're called. I know they are called different names. Some of them are different Greek names. Some of them are just, you know, recruitment group or whatever. So it'll change depending on your group or your school. And so Just know that you're going to be put in a group of girls, and a lot of people say that you make really close friends with those groups. I didn't really make close friends with mine, but I know some of the girls in my group make close friendships with each other, so that was good. And I know that it's more common that people make good friendships through it. I mean, I made friends, but none of them I'm, like, talking to now. Anyway, so after that day, I came back the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, met with my origami group, and we started visiting houses. Now, the way you visit a house is you basically just walk up to the house, and the girls come and greet you. Now, I was totally shocked at how this worked. It was very movie-like craziness. I didn't think that it would be like this, but in CU Boulder, you have your origami group, and you're waiting outside the house just patiently. And then right at whatever time your party is at, say 8 o'clock, the girls walk out the house, all the sorority girls. They're wearing the same thing. So sometimes they'll just be wearing the same t-shirt and the same colored shorts and then the same shoes. And sometimes they had their hair the same way. Other times they were wearing, like, say they decided they were going to wear a black dress, but there would be, like, guidelines to it. So, like, we're all going to wear a black dress that is knee length, and we're going to wear black pumps with it. And so all the girls would come out, and their dresses would be different, but they'd all be black, they'd all be knee length, and they would all be wearing black pumps. So some of their outfits were exactly the same, and some of them were just, like, very, very, very similar. But I was not expecting that. And they came out, and they all smiling and kind of turned their head a little bit, and they had their hands behind their back, kind of like cheerleaders. And they walked down in, you know, pretty formation. Some of them went like this way, and some of them would go this way, and some would come forward, and they'd go all these crazy ways, and then come out, and they would just stand there and stare at you and smile. So that was kind of weird, just because I wasn't expecting it. Like, after I got used to it, I was like, oh, like, don't they look so pretty and stuff, and, like, their outfits definitely show the personality of the houses. But yeah, it was kind of scary at first, just because I didn't know what was going to happen, and so that was crazy. And then their president and the president of recruitment, I believe, came down, and they would introduce themselves, and they would welcome you to the house. And then after that, a girl would come down from the sorority, a different girl, and she would say your name. So she'd be like, Sarah Buckhouse, will you please come into the house with me? And you would go with that one girl, and you would go into the house, and you would talk to her. And that would just keep going. So they would ask, like, Jenny Lou, will you please come into the house with me? Marianne, will you please come into the house with me? And so they would just ask all the girls to come into the house, and then eventually everyone would be in the house, and you would have, like, a specific girl that you were assigned to because she called your name, and you would talk to her in the house. And you talk about really random stuff. Normally they would ask, like, how's recruitment going? What's your major? Where are you from? Really annoying questions, and you want to try and avoid those questions as much as possible, because that actually means that you're not doing a very good job. You want to be talking about something really random, something personal, maybe something about you, something that you like to do. I mean, some good conversations that I had would be, like, simple about, like, a TV show that, like, me and the girl I was talking to had in common. You want to try and, like, defer from, like, the mainstream conversation and try and find a different conversation to talk about. But anyway, that's what happened the first day. So I visited all the houses. At CU Boulder, we have 9 houses. And also, after you went into the house, after you invited into the house, after you talked to your girl, you were sat down for entertainment. Now, entertainment is different every day that you go to a house, but there is entertainment at every house you go to, every night that you go there. So on the first night at CU Boulder, we had Chant Night, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but what they would do is you would talk to your girl for a little bit, and then maybe some other girl would come and take her place, and you would talk to that girl for a little bit, and then, like, the first day I think I talked to about 3 girls at every house, and then once that was done, they would usher you into a room with all the other girls, and they would sit you down. Some houses had chairs, but some did not. Some had you sit on the floor, and that is definitely something to think about when you're picking out your outfit, is that you might have to sit on the floor. And sitting on the floor sucks if you are wearing something really uncomfortable. Some girls wore really tight jeans the first day, and they would sit down and their butt cracks would be showing and stuff. So like that was really bad. And so make sure that you're paying attention to what you're wearing, that it's okay to sit on the floor in, because you might be sitting on the floor. Anyway, they would sit us down on the floor, and then they would all circle around us. This was another really shocking thing for me. They would circle around us. They had a projector screen going, and on the projector screen they had videos going, like pictures and stuff like that, of what the girls had done in the past year or two. And that was awesome. I mean, you got to see a lot of the events they put on and stuff. But while that video was playing, the girls who had circled around you started chanting. And that, not like weird chants, but they would be like, you know, yay, Theta, like, I don't know. And a lot of them were put to songs, so they would change the words of popular songs into the names of their sorority and things about their sorority, and it was really cool, and they would dance, and it was really cool. It was just really shocking and really loud. Like, at one point, we were waiting outside one of the houses while they were having another party, so other girls were in the house, and we were waiting outside of the house for them to be done, and the windows were shaking like crazy. We thought they might break, and it was so loud, and we weren't even in the house. And so, like, when we were in the house and you were the ones being chanted at, it was crazy. It was so loud. It was a little scary at first, and then once you got used to it, it was actually kind of fun, kind of cool to see the different twists that every house put on their chant. But it was definitely something that I think they should have told us that was going to happen, because it was definitely really different. So just be aware that you might get chanted at really loud in a tiny little room with tons of girls circled around you, and yeah, it's kind of scary. Anyway, that was the first day. So I went to 9 houses. It was crazy. It was tiring. Most colleges, or a lot of colleges, have sorority row where all the houses are right next to each other. They're neighbors, and you just go from one house to the next. Whereas in Boulder, they're not like that. There are a few houses who are next to each other, but most of them are spread out pretty far. And so you have to, like, go to all the different houses. At one point, we had to run to one of the houses because we had the 2 farthest away houses for parties, and yeah, booking it was not fun whatsoever. So just be aware of that too. You might need to wear really nice shoes so you don't hurt your feet, because you're going to be walking a lot, and it was super tiring, and just something to know. Anyway, so the first day, not so great. I thought I did really good, but my big mistake was when I went to a house and I was talking to the girls, instead of me asking them questions, or them asking me questions, I asked them questions. And you think, oh, that's probably not a bad, like, thing. You know, you really get to know the house that way. Well, the house didn't get to know me that way, and that was my big mistake. So I would talk to all these girls, and I would get to know the house, like, really well, and be like, okay, so the house likes this, they have this many girls, they have a lot of skiers, they don't have a lot of skiers, because I'm into snowboarding, and, like, so I wanted to find a house that actually had a lot of girls who wanted to go boarding. They believe in this, they're different because of this. Like, I learned so much about the houses, but the houses learned nothing about me because I didn't ask them, or I didn't allow them to ask me any questions, because I wanted to know about them. I was so worried that I wouldn't know anything about the houses by the end, and that I wouldn't know which house I wanted to be in, because there were so many, and they were all seemed so similar, so the only way to find out the difference between them was to ask them a ton of questions and stuff, and that's what I thought. And so the next day, when I got my schedule for the day, a lot of the houses had cut me. So by that, I mean, when you go in that night, the first night after I went to all the houses, I went into a room with my origami group, and we wrote down all the houses that we liked. So they said we had 9 houses in Boulder. So they were like, write down the 7 houses that are your top, and then it doesn't matter in which order, and then you have 2 houses that are your bottom 2. And then you rank them 1 and 2. Your 2 bottom houses. And then the other the houses will pick which girls they want. So it'll be like, I liked this girl, I didn't like this girl, we liked this girl, we liked this girl, we didn't like this girl, we liked this girl. And then what happens is, like, we did it on our computer. Some people do it on paper, but ours was in the computer. The computer system looked at the two things. They looked at the girls, the houses that they wanted, and they looked at the houses that wanted the girls, and then they mashed them together, and then they found 7 houses that the girls wanted and the houses wanted them. And you could have up to 7. Now, some girls only got asked back to 1 house. Some girls got asked back to 3 houses. Some girls got asked back to all 9 houses, but they only got to go to 7. So the bottom 2 that they put were thrown out. So it was different for every girl. For me, I only got asked back to 4 houses. So that was actually really, I did poorly. I mean, I didn't do as poorly as a lot of other girls, but I did do poorly. And that was mostly because, like I said, I didn't let the houses get to know me, and that was really bad because I thought that I wouldn't get to know the houses. And that is not true. You're going to get to know the houses so well going through recruitment. So don't worry so much about being like, I'm not going to know anything about the houses. I'm not going to know what's different about them. You really do get to know what's different about the houses. It's kind of crazy how that works. But anyway, that was one of my big mistakes going through recruitment. And so I really limited what house I could be in based off that. And so after that, the second day for recruitment, I went to my 4 houses. I was no longer with my Rho Gamma group. I met with my Rho Gamma group in the morning. I was given my schedule, and then after that, I was on my own. It was my responsibility to get to every house, and I went by myself. So, because everyone has a different schedule, not every house asks the same girls back. Like, they didn't ask the entire Rho Gamma group to come back and stuff like that. So, everyone in your Rho Gamma group had different amount of houses to go to at different times, different parties, stuff like that. So, you kind of broke off from your Rho Gamma group. So, the second day when I went, the same thing happened. The girls come out of the house, look all in the same clothes, all pretty, and they ask you to come in by your name. So we went in, and they would talk to us. And the second day was philanthropy and house tours. So you got to get a tour of the house, which was really cool. They showed you some of the bedrooms, what they would be like. They show you the bathrooms. They show you the living room, the study areas. Most houses have study areas. Some of them have movie rooms, just different things. So they showed us the houses, which was really cool. You really get to see what it would be like to live there if you did live in the house. And then they told you about their philanthropy, so like what organization they support and why they support it. And so that was nice. And then that was that day, which is a lot more normal than the first day with them chanting at you. And then the second day, yet again, or on the second day, you would go home and you'd rank your people. So you'd be like, okay, now we picked 5 houses that we really wanted, which I only had 4, so it didn't matter. I just put all 4 onto one side. But you'd pick the 5 houses that you wanted and then the 2 houses that you didn't. And you put the 2 houses 1 and 2 because you could end up actually going back to them, possibly if 2 of your 5 didn't want you back. And so we did that again, and then again the houses went, and we want this girl, we don't want this girl, we want this girl, we don't want this girl. And then the third day, we went again to the houses. We got our schedules in the morning, and then you went and visited the houses. That day I only visited 3, but I could have visited 5 had I had more houses. And you went and visited them, and that was Skit Night. And this was a Monday night, and so it was a lot shorter. And it was really fun. I really, really enjoyed Skit Night. Skit Night was my favorite night. And it was basically what you think it is. The houses put on a skit. So they came out and their hands behind their back and stood all pretty, and they called your name, and you came inside. You talked to a girl for a little bit, then they sat you down, and they did a skit for you. And they're all really funny and cute, and I loved Skit Night so much. It was so entertaining, and it really made me want to be in a sorority because I was like, oh my gosh, like these girls are having so much fun, and I love theater, so I was like, I would love to put on like skits during recruitment. So that was really cool. And then yet again, you went back and you listed your top 3 houses that you wanted to go back to. the, yes, top 3 houses that you wanted to go back to. So that was fun. You listed those top 3, and then the next day was preference night. Now, preference night is different for every house, so I can't really explain what they actually do. For the 2 houses that I went to on preference night, they did, one of them sang their sorority song, which I think every sorority has a song, and it was very pretty, and they gave testimony, some of the girls, about their life in the house and what it was like and how they felt when they first joined. Like, some of them weren't happy about joining, but then they fell in love with it. Other girls loved it from the very beginning. Other girls were transfers from other schools into, like, they were tried out in one school, and then they switched schools, and so they had to go and try out in the other, and how they, like, struggled with it at first, but then they fell in love with the girls, and I don't know. There were lots of different stories. Some of them were funny, some of them were sad, and that was a lot of fun. You really got to see the personality of the girls in the house there, and that was nice, and it was just really sweet. It was very personal, like people say. A lot of people really like preference night. Also, we had food on that night, so they gave us desserts, and that was really cool. So, yeah, it was different. And then you went back, and yet again, you ranked your houses. This one was really important. You had to rank them in order of the way you wanted them. And then the next day you would find out what house you were actually in. Okay, so now let's talk about being dropped from a house. Okay, being dropped from houses is devastating. Like, it really is. If you want to be in a house and they drop you, it's really sad. I mean, if you really have your heart set on a house and they say, oh, we don't want you, like, of course that's going to, like, hurt your confidence and make you upset, and you're not going to be happy. At CU Boulder, we had 1,200 girls rushing. 1,200. And there were 9 houses. And not every house was going to take in over 100 girls. Like, that's just too many. I mean, there were already only 200 girls in the house. So for them to add over half of the amount that they already had, like, that would just be way too much. And they couldn't do that. They couldn't, you couldn't hold that many girls. So obviously they were going to have to cut a lot of girls, and that is what made it so hard. The houses cut so many girls the first day, and like the first day so many girls were crying. Well, I guess it was the second day when they got their bids, or not their bids, but their schedules for that day, and found out that the houses they really liked didn't ask them back, and they couldn't because the houses had so many girls to choose from. They can't pick everyone. And you'd be amazed at how many girls dropped. Like, I knew so many girls who had dropped. I bet at least half of the girls who rushed had dropped by the end. And don't do that. Like, if you're going to rush, every house is great. And they say that the whole time. They're like, every house is awesome. Just give it a chance at least. You might end up liking some of the houses that you didn't like originally. Like, some of the houses that I didn't like on the first day, by the end, I actually really liked them. So a lot can change in just a few days. Like, a lot can change. You might have talked to one person at one house and you really liked them, but, like, they could be the exception for that house. They could be the one person in that entire house that you like. And so you can't just base it off of one day. And I know so many people who dropped the first day, the second day. Every time they got dropped from a house the house that they wanted, they would rush altogether. And my advice to you is to go all the way through it. You know, for me, it really sucked because I got dropped from a lot of houses, and I hated it, and it was a shot to my confidence, and I was like, I can't believe that happened. Like, I totally thought I was going to do better in Rush, and I'm just not, like, as good at talking, and I'm not looking as pretty as other girls and stuff, and so, it was hard for me, and looking back on it, I was like, why did I think that? But I did, and just know that, and, like, I'm not going to say that you're not being judged, because you are. And I'm not going to say that clothing doesn't matter, that it's only about your personality, because clothing does matter. When you go in and you're talking to those girls in that house, you have to remember that those girls are talking to hundreds of other girls. And you're going to have to make a really, really good impression for them to remember you. You're going to have to talk about something very interesting. You're going to have to wear something that stands out. You're going to have to do your hair and make sure you look pretty. And you're going to have to do your best because and it's not that they're like, oh, we only want the prettiest girls and oh, we only want the girls with the best personalities and stuff like that. It's just they have so many girls coming that it's hard for them to remember everyone that's normal. And so it's good if they find someone who's above normal because they're like, oh yeah, there was this girl who came in and her earrings were like so cool. And like we started talking about Grey's Anatomy, and I love Grey's Anatomy and stuff, and she was really cool, so, like, I want her in the house. But if you came in and you were like, oh, yeah, there was this girl, and she was wearing, I think she was wearing a pink top, like every other girl who came in, because, yeah, like, every girl wore a pink top, and she and I talked about, like, what major she was in, and how she was from that one city. Yeah, I remember that girl. They're not going to remember you if you're just so normal, mainstream. Make sure you present yourself really well. Make sure you try and have like really good conversations with people so that they remember you. That's something that I didn't do, and I regret it. I started doing it towards the end, but towards the beginning, I did not do that, and it was bad. Bad. So anyway, I'll just talk about the whole recruitment process as a whole. I did not enjoy it. I hated it. I was so tired because the first Friday was just like the orientation, and the first day of actual rest was from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And then same again on that Sunday, 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. That's a lot of going to people's houses and talking and yelling and screaming and craziness. And then on Monday, because we had class, it didn't start till 5, and it was 5 to midnight. And same with on Tuesday, 5 to midnight. So it was like super tiring. And then, after all of that, after you go through recruitment, after you pick the houses, after you're so stressed out, after you're so sad because the houses that you want dropped you, you go to bid day. Bid day is definitely the most exciting day because that's where you find out what house you're in. And on bid day, you come in. We came into the ballroom, which was the same room that we did our first orientation at. And you will go to your Rogama group. Your Rogama gave you an envelope, which has your bid in it. They hand it to you. They made us sit down on the floor and put the bid under our butt because they did not want anyone like shining the light, trying to read it, or opening it, or anything like that. So they made us sit on it so we couldn't see, which was a really good idea. And we sat there, and then we got to find out what sorority our Rogamas were in, because our Rogamas, our group leaders, are in a sorority, but we're not allowed to know what sorority they're in. So they don't wear their sorority letters. They don't live in their house during that time. They don't talk to the girls in their house during that time. They don't do anything so that you don't know what house they're in, so that you're not biased towards that house because your Rogama's in it. So if you like really liked your Rogama and she was in Tri-Delt, then you'd be like, oh my gosh, like I really want to be in Tri-Delt because my Rogama's in Tri-Delt. Or if you hated your Rogama, you'd be like, I don't want to be in Tri-Delt because my Rogama's in Tri-Delt and I really don't like her. So what they did was they made sure that that wasn't biased so you wouldn't know what house your Rogama was in. And so that was probably the best idea. And we got to guess every night, like, oh yeah, my Rogama's definitely in Theta. Like, I can tell she's definitely a Theta. And that was always really fun. And then we got to find out on bid day what house they were actually in. And so that was really cool. None of us guessed right for our Rogamas, which was crazy and really fun. Anyway, so once they had done that, they were like, okay, we're going to let you guys open your bid in a minute. Once you open your bid, you're going to run outside. And when I say run, like, I mean run. Like, all these girls ran outside. So like, you're going to run outside, you're going to find your house, and you're going to find the girls in your house, and then you're going to run to your actual house. So that was super fun. Anyway, so they were like, okay, you guys can open your bed. Open your bed, and tons of girls were screaming, tons of girls were crying, some girls were laughing, and then they all just started running outside, And they went, and there's all the sorority girls outside with their big letters like AKO or whatever, and they were chanting their chants, and you ran up and like you're like jump at them, you're like, I'm in your house, and they're like, yay, you're in our house. And then once they got all the girls, they run back to their house, and like there were hundreds of girls running in the street, and we got honked at like a million times because people were like mad they were running in the road and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So here's the devastating part. I opened my bid card, and it was not the house I wanted. And it was the one house that I had said at the very beginning that I didn't want to be in. And it was so sad. And I didn't know what to do because I was like, I don't want to be that one person who's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be in the house because it's not the house I wanted to be in and stuff. And so I went to the bid day party. Now, a lot of people don't go to their bid day parties. They just give them back their bids, and they're like, I don't want to be in this house, so I'm just going to go home. I didn't do that, and the reason why I didn't do that was because I wanted to give the house that I got into a chance, and I did. I did go to the bid day party. I will tell you guys now that I did not join the sorority that gave me a bid. So I went through Rush, I visited 9 houses, and I did not join a single one of those houses. Now you may be confused because it seems like I'm still in a sorority, and I am. I joined Alpha Delta Chi, which is the Christian sorority on campus. Now that was not like me. I went through Rush, I didn't get in the house that I wanted, and then I decided to join Alpha Delta Chi. Alpha Delta Chi, because it's a Christian sorority, is not Panhellenic, which means that they can't do formal Rush. And so they had their Rush at the same time, but it was separate from those 9 houses. So C.E. Boulder actually, they have 11 houses, but I'm just going to talk about these 10. So they had the 9 Panhellenic houses, and then they had Alpha Delta Chi, which is not Panhellenic. And I decided that I was going to rush both. So I was going to do the 9 here, and I was going to do the 1 over here. And so during these days, these 4, 5 days that I was rushing, I was actually going to both recruitments. And I fell in love with the girls in Alpha Delta Chi. They were amazing. They're so friendly. I felt so loved there. And so when I was going through recruitment, I didn't know what I was going to do because I did want to join the big Panhellenic sorority, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to join the tiny little sorority over here. And so once I went through all of recruitment, I went to the bid party at Tri-Delt, and I hung out with the girls there that night. We went roller skating. It was fun. The girls were sweet, and I had a good time. But when the day was said and done, I looked at it, and I was like, I already know that I love the girls in Alpha Delta Chi, and I want to be with them, and so that's what I did. And I know I made the right decision, and I know that that is the house for me, and I know that I feel comfortable there, and I know that that is what is going to make me happy. And that's what you need to think when you're going through recruitment. You need to know that when you go through, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be in love with every house that you go to. Every house might not be for you, but there is a house for you. And I ended up wasting $65 and days of my time going through formal recruitment and not picking a house that I went through in formal recruitment. But it was all worth it. Maybe I wouldn't have found Alpha Delta Chi or known that how much I love Alpha Delta Chi had I not gone through regular recruitment. And so that's what you need to look at. And I recommend going all the way through recruitment. Even if the house that you want drops you, go all the way through, find a bid day, see if you get a bid, and at least go to that bid day. And if you hate it, then don't go back. But just know that you can give every house a chance. And also, going through recruitment, you are not promised a bid. I knew a lot of girls who wanted to go all the way through recruitment who didn't even get called back, who didn't get bids. And it happens a lot. People say, oh, that's like a really rare thing, but it's not rare. Like, I knew tons of girls who didn't get called back. And that might be because we had 1,200 girls rushing and there were only 9 houses, but you're not guaranteed to get called back. And so just know that, and know that it's going to be painful when that does happen, if it does happen to you. But it does. And I don't want to lie to you and say it doesn't. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that those girls aren't judging you. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it doesn't matter what you wear. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's completely, mutual selection. I mean, it is completely mutual selection, but it's more on their side than your side. They're going to drop you before you get to drop them most of the time. So it's rough. Like, sorority recruitment is not easy. It's not like, oh yeah, like, it's all about you finding the house for you. No, it's about those houses finding the girls that they want. And now, the thing is, they're really good at finding the girls they want. They're really good at finding the girls that belong in that house. And they're really good at finding girls that will get along. And that is what's so amazing about recruitment, is that they're really good at finding girls that mesh and that belong in that house. But it's really hard for you when you think you belong in a house and you don't. Or if they don't believe that you belong in the house. So just know that if you're going to go through recruitment, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be an experience that you may never be able to go through again. And it's important. You learn so much about yourself, and you learn a lot about others, and you learn a lot about stereotypes. It's a good experience. I recommend that you'd go through it, but just know that a lot of crazy things are going to happen. A lot of things are going to be weird if you're not used to sorority life, and that the last thing that you thought could happen is going to happen. Like, I did not think, like, I was going through AD Kai's recruitment. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I should go through their recruitment too, but I never thought that I would actually be joining them. I totally thought I was going to be joining one of the Panhellenic sororities, and now that I didn't, I'm so happy, and I think that I'm going to have a great time with sorority life, but, it didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to, and that's what you need to know, is that if you're not open-minded, if you're not expecting everything and anything to happen, if you think that everything's going to go exactly as planned, you're probably delusional. Like, sometimes, like, yes, it might go exactly as you plan, but the majority of the time, it's not. And you can't do anything about it. So, yeah, that's kind of depressing. I know, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to prepare you. And I'm not trying to put down on Sorority Rush. It was great. I had fun. But, yeah, just know that things don't always turn out the way that you think they're going to. And that's really all I have to say. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments below. And in the future, maybe I'll do some more sorority videos on, like, Big Little Week, because that's what I'm doing right now. And I can do some videos just about sorority life in general once I'm actually started in it, because, like, right now I'm not doing anything in sorority. Well, I am, but, like, I've only been in sorority life for, like, 2 weeks, so I don't really know much about it. And yeah, I'll just talk to you guys about stuff if you want to know, and I guess I'll see you in my next video.